Tim.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good.
Thanks for coming and joining me on my podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I'm super pumped. We connected through a friend at a coffee shop, and
Yes, it was like a hijacking moment.
oh my gosh! And we spent like an hour and a half just chopping it up, working together, and just bouncing ideas back and forth.
Got to hear your story a little bit.
Yeah,
It was sweet.
yeah. Well, I'm grateful that you're here, and I can't wait to get into sharing kind of like who you are, what it is that you do with my audience. I know it will resonate with a lot of people that listen in. And if you want to, I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit.
So I'm Tim Hawkins.
Yeah.
I'm a Tim Hawkins because if you are familiar with Christian worldview at all and comedy, you know the other Tim Hawkins.
Chick-fil-A, I could eat there 7 times a day.
Yes. So somebody just asked me the other day, like, "Hey, have you updated your SEO settings on your website?" And I was like, "No, it's pointless."
Yeah.
Because the other Tim Hawkins has
Hijacks
already,
it all.
So I was like, so anyway, so I'm Tim Hawkins. I live here in Colorado Springs. I actually live just, I think 7 minutes north of you.
Yeah.
We've lived in the Springs for 9 years. My wife Kayla and I have been married almost 15 years.
It's awesome.
We have 3 boys, 10, 8, and 5. So we're a part of the local classical academy. I mean, this is our community here.
Yeah.
We came here 9 years ago. I took a call to be a senior pastor of a church.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what brought us here. And 16 months in, I actually stepped down. It was kind of one of those moments where I was like, we're not a good fit, and that's okay. But we didn't leave.
Yeah.
So we felt like the Lord had not released us from the Springs. So no job, no income, no nothing. We're like, well, God, let's see how long this lasts.
Right.
And really, like, we look back on it now and we go, oh, the Lord originally called us here through a church. And as we have been here longer, like, our big thing is we feel like the Lord's brought us here to impact a city.
Yeah.
So we didn't leave. We hunkered down. I actually was an interim pastor of a local church when they needed somebody for one of their campuses. And then God set it on our hearts to start a church. And so for the past 5 years, I've been the lead pastor of Storied Church up in Northgate. And I do that in what's called a co-vocational role. So I do not take an income from our church. I'm an unpaid lead pastor. When we started it, I was kind of like a missionary.
Yeah.
Raise your funding to go and bring the gospel in the kingdom. And so we did that. And a year in to being missionaries and church planters, we just loved it. And I was like, God, how do I continue to lead Storied in this way when I know eventually missionary support, it kind of winds down.
Right.
And so started looking into, my background is in like human transformation. My background's in counseling. I was a hospital chaplain for years. Any role that I've been in has been in like helping people grow and develop. And so when we figured out like we want to continue to pastor Storied, not take an income and stay here because you got to make money to live in Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody tell you differently.
It's pretty pricey.
Yeah, just a little bit. I had been working with a leadership coach, and I just asked him, I was like, hey, do you think I could do what you do? And he goes, absolutely, you can. Like you've got the kind of the baseline for it. So for the past 4 years, I have been a leadership coach. This past year, I joined a group called Novus Global, and so now I'm a certified professional executive leadership coach with a team of coaches. So there's actually another guy that lives in town, so it's fun to have a colleague in town.
Cool.
But there's 75 coaches, 75 of us
Awesome.
across the country, and we do something called transformational coaching. It goes by another name, ontological coaching, but most people are like, what is that? Is that a type of tea? No, that's oolong. So I pastor Storied and then run parallel. That's what co-vocational is they actually enhance one another. And so I coach. I've got clients in town. I got clients out of state. I do training, a lot of leadership training and development. And then also, I run a nonprofit ministry called the Leadership Coaching Fellowship, and that helps to provide world-class leadership training to like leaders or individuals or organizations who are under-resourced, maybe a little bit underprivileged.
Yeah.
The line item is not for professional development because that's a privilege.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Says who?
Yeah.
So I raised the funding to be able to cover the costs, or at least most of the costs, so that I can get kingdom leaders in the room to be mentally transformed and tooled for wherever God's called them to be.
Man.
So that's me.
Yeah, you're doing it.
Yeah, it's fun.
You are doing
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
not doing it.
No,
That's for sure.
No, it's and you know, there was a lot of like turmoil trying to figure out like how all this was going to piece together. And this year in particular, I just told my wife this morning, we were sitting at the breakfast table enjoying breakfast together, and I was like, I had this like overwhelming sense of peace for this year. I have no clue what all is in store. I have a lot of things that will be happening.
Yeah.
I have to travel way more this year than I've ever traveled before. There's just a lot of like in the coaching world, you know, you typically coach somebody for like 6 months to a year, and then you navigate renewals.
Right.
And so you're never guaranteed work.
Right.
And I said, this morning, it wasn't the hot water in the shower. It was like legitimately a moment where I was like, Lord, I trust this year is going to be so sweet regardless of what happens. So,
yeah. Dude, that is so awesome. Thank you for just cracking that open and and opening it up with all your stuff. I want to kind of go deeper if you're okay with it.
By means, yeah.
And you know, before you know all of what's gone on here in Colorado Springs with building a church, you know, coaching and all of this stuff that you do, I want to kind of get into the story. Like, what was your childhood like? What was it like coming up? Were you a PK? You know?
No. I tell people growing up, Sundays were the most volatile day of the week in our family. So I'm one of 8 boys.
Okay.
My mom and dad were both married. My dad had a couple kids. My mom had 3 kids. He divorced. Her husband died like tragically. Actually, if I remember correctly, my mom was pregnant with a 3rd child when her first husband died in a scuba diving accident.
Oh man.
Then my parents get together. I had 3 more kids, my older brother Greg, myself, and then my younger brother John. So I'm blood related to all my siblings. So we were a little bit of a hodgepodge. And very sports oriented family. So my dad played college baseball, went to a college World Series, played minor league baseball. So we kind of grew up, especially the boys who were kind of born to my mom and dad. So one just older and just younger than me. We've all had like an athletic kind of background. But sports was the thing. I watched Florida State football. I still am a Florida State fan.
Oh man.
They were terrible this year in every respect except the first 3 games. But like sports has always been a part of life.
Yeah.
And so growing up, that's what I remember. I also remember like my parents did not have a healthy marriage. Volatile. Like I said, Sundays, generally speaking, we would go to Trinity Bible Church, 35th in Peoria in Phoenix, Arizona. And it never failed. Either my mom or my dad would end up walking home 3 miles because they just it was volatile. Man. It was hostility.
Yeah.
And so I grew up like faith wise. Like I grew up like remembering like, hey, church is something we do. It's not really anything that we're a part of. Like we can go. So growing up in that family, we had some sweet moments together, a lot of sports moments. But my parents they ended up divorcing. So when I was about to enter into high school, my parents divorced. And so my high school years, my younger brother and I grew up with my mom, and she's a rock star. She was a labor and delivery nurse. So, you know, my parents filed for divorce. They filed for bankruptcy. Like there's a whole lot of stuff going on, and my mom just like bear down. And I tell her this often, but I'm like, one, I'm sorry. I was a royal pain in the butt. And I didn't realize just like how invested you were to ensuring that we were going to be taken care of. And so she was a labor and delivery nurse all throughout high school. My dad was like in the scene, but like peripheral, like he wasn't very active. And that was kind of like the upbringing. Until college.
Yeah. So I would say, you know, a lot of the same. You know, I grew up in a divorced home. I was raised by my dad.
Oh, okay.
A little bit different.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was volatile. It was I was raised a lot by my grandparents, going over to cousins' house, aunt and uncles. Like my dad was working constantly. You know, wasn't sports focused. It was more just like do whatever you want type. That was kind of my upbringing. I I go to church as well. I would say my family though, they did try and get involved quite a bit. My
Mm,
dad worked at a church. So I was up there all the time
yeah.
whenever I was with him,
Mm,
setting up tables and chairs, doing all this stuff. Um, but yeah, it's interesting to see what God can do with somebody's life, even coming out of like straight brokenness.
mhm.
What's your take on how God does that with individuals?
Yeah. So it's funny. And I would tell this to anybody now. It's like the concept of like when you look at Jesus teaching about the various soils,
Mm,
or like you look at the Apostle Paul. The Apostle Paul would talk about this as well. It's like, hey, some of us we literally we just till the ground, or
hmm
we might pop the seed down, or we might put some fertilizer on it. But ultimately, God's the one that grows.
hmm
God is the one who calls a person to Himself. God is the one who saves them, justifies them, all that stuff. That's all God.
Yeah.
So whenever I have those moments where I'm like, oh, I did this. No, I didn't. No,
Yeah.
I didn't. And I got to be a part of it. I was invited into that.
Right.
And so all those years going to like youth gatherings, or we'd go and gather on Sundays, and we'd gather on Sundays, and then I'd go to like the Sunday school thing, and I would never be in Sunday school.
Right.
I would sneak out. I'd go to the 7-Eleven, catty corner to where our church building was. I would lift a Snickers bar,
Yeah.
go back to the church, sit in the stairwell and eat it. And then about the time that we were all kind of tidying up, I'd kind of like walk out with the crowd of kids
Yeah.
going to meet all the parents. And in all of that, although I was not vested and
hmm
invested, I heard the gospel
Yeah.
consistently. And like I look back on it now and I sit and go, like, in some good ways and in some not good ways. I grew up a little bit in the purity culture, and so there was like a harping on
Yeah.
like sexual purity, which I think is great, but that's what I remembered.
Right.
And the joy of looking back on my life, and I think this is true holistically if we're willing to think about it this way, is the power of hearing about the good news of Jesus
Mm.
does not leave you. Like,
hmm
it doesn't leave you.
Right.
And so all those times hearing the gospel, like people be like, hey, do you believe in Jesus? I'm like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Maybe. If it gets me youth group pizza and I get to hang out
Right.
with friends and, hit on the pretty girls.
Right.
And because when I turned 19, the Lord like truly captured my heart in a very powerful way. Like, the concept of conviction is meaningful.
Mm.
Like, guilt is good
Mm.
if it produces repentance, if it
Right.
produces a change in mind. And so all those years, like the brokenness of our home, I was addicted to pornography
Mm.
from a very early age. Like 6
Mm.
years old is when I got introduced to porn.
Wow.
I told my older brothers, I was like, you don't know this, but I started watching porn because you were watching porn. He goes,
Yeah.
I never showed you that. And I was like, nope, I figured it out. And so, like, even the brokenness of like the skewed views of women,
hmm
like the Lord eventually brought all that to a head.
Yeah.
And so, coming, like, if you're in, like, I would tell anybody right now, if you feel like you're in a place of brokenness, um, the Lord does see you.
Yeah.
And the Lord can work in those moments. And actually, they might be extraordinarily transformational, even though sometimes it doesn't feel like it.
Right.
Those years in high school when my dad was not around, I was playing basketball, my mom was working, kind of just fending for myself. Like, I look back and I'm like, man, whether it was God's like just providence, whether it was His presence, I don't honestly think I was following Jesus, but I look back and I sit and go, I did not do some of the stupid things that some of my classmates did, like
Yeah.
really dumb stuff.
Right.
And I don't know why I didn't, other than that, like a little bit of
Protection, God.
internal like gut check, some of the conscience
Yeah.
came into play. And so I look back even in those moments and I was like Lord, like I wouldn't have had the words then, but like you were working in all
Mm.
those times.
Mm.
Yeah.
Dude, that's powerful. Would you say that there is like a certain something that shaped you? Because you're in leadership, right? You're
Mhm.
leadership at a church. You do leadership coaching. Like, would you say that there was something in your younger days that shaped you into kind of what you do now?
Mm. Yeah. I think I enjoyed, well, so there's a couple things that come to mind. One, like I was really good at athletics. I was a high performer.
Mm.
And, my siblings would, if they were sitting here listening to me talk about like basketball, for instance, they would sit and say, yeah, you are a like class A typical high performer. It's all about me. How do I become the best? I didn't like to pass the ball much. I like to shoot. I like to score. I want to be the guy. And that was formational growing up because I remember sitting here thinking like, that's kind of how life was. It was like mom and me and younger brother were all on our own. And so it just has to be that way. And generally speaking, throughout my life, my leadership has been truncated because I've erred in the direction of I got this. Like if you're a Clifton Strengths person, you ever done that?
Yeah.
I am as influential of signature strengths as possible. The
Yeah.
only one that's not in there, this is funny, is competition. Competition's really low for me. Like I don't care to compete.
Yeah.
Like that's not a way that I think about things. Like I'm not looking to compare and compete.
Right.
All the other influencing talents are all up there. I'm a maximizer. I'm a communicator. I'm a
Right.
visionary. So there's a lot of things looking back on my life that didn't require others. And so as I got older, I realized like that's kind of what it felt like. And so from now a leadership standpoint, I look at the words of Jesus, and Jesus would sit and say, hey, just so we're clear, the rest of the world's not going to look at you as a leader because you don't have platform, you don't have prestige, maybe you don't have power. That's not how my kingdom works.
Right.
If you have first of all, if you're a disciple of mine, you're a servant, and you can serve anybody.
Yeah.
And if you serve anybody, you're a leader. So every disciple of Jesus is a leader. They may not necessarily have the leadership gifting for those who sit, but every single disciple of Jesus can powerfully lead by serving. That was a good like shifting point for me in my life where I was like, shoot, like I don't enjoy delegating. I like doing stuff. I like being the guy. And then having a moment where I was like, but I can serve. Literally, like I mean this, like I could serve the heck out of anybody.
Yeah.
And bolster them up. And so just learning like there was a vacuum to trying to accomplish everything on my own all throughout my life. And then I got to a place where I was like, man, I'm gifted to actually help others succeed. That came from years of trying to just do it myself.
Yeah. I mean, servanthood is like key. Like I look back over my life and like things that I was invited into, and like again, my dad working at a church, setting up tables and chairs. Like he taught me like, hey, there's people that are gonna sit in these chairs. Like we're gonna pray over these chairs and stuff like that. Like that's like so foundational to my life. And I would say like a lot of the successes that I've had in life have come from servanthood. In that, right, there's a lot of successes that propel us forward. What are some setbacks that you've experienced, as you've like progressed in your career, as God has taken you? And you weren't always a pastor, right?
No, so I've been in pastoral ministry about 16 years now.
Okay.
Some of it was not full-time vocational, but I've been serving within a local body of believers for 16 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but before that, I got to remember here, like college basketball was the thing I was pursuing. When you think about failures, I would say one of the failures I had is I went to go play at a junior college right out of high school, and it was one of the top junior colleges in the country. And junior college basketball is
Pretty
usually,
intense.
normally like junior college basketball is for people who need to get their grades up so that they can qualify for higher level basketball, or there's something just like athletically or maybe physiologically, if they work on it, they're going to get there. And I was a smart basketball player. And so I joined this team, and I realized like there's an edge that I just didn't have. And so they'd given me a scholarship to play. I was on a great team. They got third in the nation that year. So it would have been an amazing opportunity.
Yeah.
I quit.
Wow.
I quit. I was like, I didn't believe I could hack it. Like my coach is like, Tim, this is different. This is like hard is not bad. And I remember thinking like, I didn't have those words back then, but I always was like, man, this is getting hard. This something must be wrong here because this is getting hard. And looking back on that, I was like, oh, I know what that was. That's called third place syndrome. Like I was the kind of person, and still to this day, I navigate this where I'm like, I'm okay with third place. because third place is safe and it's comfortable. And every time I resign myself to a third place, like I can go play at a smaller college, which is
Yeah.
what I eventually did, and it was great, and the Lord used it. But every time you resign yourself to a third place mentality, you're not transforming yourself. You're operating in comfort, and you're underestimating likely what you're capable of. And I did that with that team, and I did that several times over.
Kind of cyclical.
Well, yeah,
Showing up
you
in
know, think
different
about
ways.
like when so I became a believer at 19, right after I had met a girl in college, and within 2 weeks we were sleeping together. And I remember having like the angst of all that, and of course there was the enjoyment. But one of the things I realized was like, Lord, like I can't hold off. Like very disempowered, like the temptation's too strong, third place mentality. Like, Lord, there's no way I can hold myself out for that. Totally undermining just how powerful God could have worked in that. Lord still used it.
Right.
But like there are moments all around the place where growing up, like the addiction to pornography, there were several times I wanted to kick that because I was addicted to porn until 55 days before I got married.
Wow.
And multiple times trying to kick it and just like beating myself up like I can't do it. Third place mentality. I'll just do what's comfortable. And so from a failure standpoint, like very formational coming into today, it's like, oh, I don't want to be a third place mentality. That's like 85% living.
Yeah.
It's like I want to be 100% in.
Right.
So there were several key indications, but I actually, in our coaching group, we had a retreat last fall, and I remember talking with several of my colleagues, and I was like, I realized for most of my life, I have done and been comfortable with all the things I'm good at, and I'm just like, I can communicate and wax eloquence like nobody's business. When things get hard, I'm like, I'll back off a little bit, like no big deal, but I can feel it like in parenting or in marriage, like just, I'll take third place. And so recognizing that that's been a propensity for me all throughout my life.
Yeah.
I remember we, in college, we went to the Final Four for the team that I did play for, and we lost. We got third place in the nation. That's cool. I literally was, and like, we got teammates that are like crying and bawling their eyes out. And I was like, suck it up.
Yeah.
Good grief.
You're just okay with it.
I was just in my third place posture.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but now recognizing too, it's like there are moments where that's okay. I don't look to be first place in everything. There's some things though that I'm like, first place is transformational. So all of those moments in my past kind of came to a moment where I was like, oh, I want to live differently now. Very formational.
Yeah. How did you meet your wife? How did marriage?
I Gaylord Fockered her. If anybody knows what that means, I spiked a volleyball into her face.
Oh my.
Yeah. So that's exactly what happened. So my senior year of college, I went to a private Christian college, and it was expensive.
Yeah.
So I played 2 years of basketball, and then my senior year, I was like, I'm going to take a break. I need to work to make sure I don't come out with like an ungodly amount of debt, you know. So instead of playing basketball, I worked, and then I grew up in Arizona playing beach volleyball.
Okay.
So I love playing volleyball.
Get in the sand.
Yeah, love it. And I was like, I still want to like participate. So one of my good friends was the assistant coach of the women's volleyball team. And I just said, hey, do you guys need a student assistant? I can come in and just run drills on practices and all that stuff. And he's like, yeah, that'd be great. And I think it was like the second or third practice. I'm like a, grip it and rip it kind of like person. Like, if you're going to go swing at a baseball, swing hard, knock it out of the park. Volleyball, I hit hard. I jump high, I hit hard. Not a ton of control. And so the girls are all lined up, and there's two of us, and we're just spiking balls down at them so that they can practice getting under and digging the ball up. And Kayla was square in front of me, and she's expecting the ball to go down, so she's going to dive down to do it. And I laced it straight at her face. So she had no time to get hands up or anything. Oh. Just blasted her in the face. And because I'm a gentleman and I didn't want to further humiliate her, I just let it go. I didn't say anything to her. She's walking off like down the stairs of the gym, because nose, watering eyes.
Absolutely.
I just ignored it because I figured if I say anything, you're probably not going to be any less humiliated.
Right.
And she shares the story where she's like, man, this dude is a jerk. Like he doesn't even say anything. And then I followed up, like later that night, I reached out to her and I was like, this is why I didn't reach out. I hope you're okay. So that's
Yeah.
how we met each other. We met each other in college, and we dated a year, which was like a dark night of the soul for my wife. And I mean, in the sense that I was like a code 5 clinger of a boyfriend, very self-conscious, and like she was very gracious and kind. But dated for a year and then got engaged and married in 2011.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you've been married how long now?
Yeah. So this will be 15 years in June.
Okay. Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
And you got kids. You said you got 3 boys.
Yeah, we got 3 boys, which didn't surprise me, just being a boy, like
Right.
one of 8. And that's been fun too. You know, one of my things with now being a dad and just recognizing my history growing up was like, man, how do I be so intentional with my children, and learning how to do that with my wife too. You know, so we're very intentional, like discipleship with our kiddos. But like for me as a dad, like with my boys, it's like, hey, how do I give them an example of what it looks like to selflessly love?
Yeah.
And my wife has several autoimmune diseases, which she's a champion with. And there are days where like she just needs to be served for service sake, like just to care for her. And so being able to do that well, so that they see it, show them how do you love somebody when they're hurting and in pain. But also, how do I become a dad that's like engaged and intentional?
Yeah.
Statistically speaking, most dads like to back away, especially with younger kids. You know,
Yeah.
and Kayla's amazing with our children. Like her mindset on how to help our boys know Jesus is really powerful. I've got a master's of theology, so I like to bring in like the deep thinkings, and it's fun. Like last night at the dinner table, my second child, Wit, every night, one boy prays, one boy asks a question that we all answer. And Wit's like, he was asking about original sin. So 8-year-old, he's like, Dad, what is up with this? Adam and Eve screw up, and what, we have to pay for it? And I was like, son, I am so proud of you for like just tinkering in on this right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a lot of joy. My 10-year-old's a gifted athlete. I coach him in basketball. My middle child was a NICU baby. He almost died. And so he's got this like sweet temperament. He's blonde hair, blue eyed too. So like just loves you to death. My little 5-year-old's a tsunami. A wild child. And like both Kayla and I were like, man, having boys is so sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sweet.
Yeah, that's awesome. So now on this topic of parenting, you're in the heat of it. I'm in the heat of it. Like I got 2 girls. They're 8 and 6. That's a totally polar opposite, right? But like, what would you say to like some younger parents right now in the midst of it, like how to navigate it? Even single parents. Single parents is on the rise in a major way. Single moms, single dads. What's some advice that you would give to them right now?
Oh man, yeah. Well, there's a lot of things that come to mind. Like the very first like internal notice I have is just be aware of how important those early years are with your children. Like if you were to go and do some pediatric psychology research, you'd learn that a lot of the things that you engage in with your kids, how you speak to them, how you actually like treat them, are very formational early on. And go figure, the early years of being a parent are some of the most stressful.
Yeah.
You have a child who literally depends upon you. And if you've ever caught yourself going like, hey, can't you just go do that yourself? And they're like, you really want me to go handle the gas fire stove, Dad? I'm 3 years old. I'm like, oh no, you can't do that. That's right. Don't do that. So like you have a person who's dependent upon you, and there's just a lot of that. That's a lot. You know, you're it's like a sieve. Like a child like put a sieve right in your side, and it's not water coming out. It's your emotional well-being and your energy. And so just being very mindful of the fact that like, yes, it's transformational for you. If parenting young children is not challenging, you either don't care, or you haven't like thought of some of the ways to engage them, because parenting children is a transformational endeavor. It's one of the reasons why I think the Lord blesses us with children.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm going to give you no sleep. That's it, God? No, there's so much sweetness to it. And just navigate that. Those early years of formation are really important too. I would tell parents, especially if like you're listening and you're a disciple of Jesus and you want your children to know the Lord
Mm,
and you feel ill-equipped. My wife and I, real early on, we just determined it doesn't matter. Well, in some cases, it does matter what you do, but it's like don't pursue perfection, just
mm.
pursue progress. Do anything.
Yeah.
With our kids, we've bought books that we read. We'll read stories. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of like Jotham's Journey, which is a
Mm,
great like that whole series. I can't remember the guy. I think his last name is Eaterdeed, Messianic Jewish name.
yeah.
But like we'll read stories and cultivate conversation, and that's how
Mm,
the faith has always been passed along. But like whatever it is, don't look for perfection with your children. Just just do something with them.
hmm.
So that'd be another thing I'd say is like, don't worry about trying to get it right. Um, just get in it with them.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And then, yeah, the other part is, too, is just recognizing like my experience. Cause I'm about to get into a season where work for me is picking up.
Right.
And so thinking through like, how do I consistently invite my children into opportunities to be with me?
Yeah.
When there are opportunities, they just cannot. Like, you can't be in a coaching call with me,
Right.
son.
Right.
You can't go on this training with me. Like,
Right.
and when I'm available, when I'm home and there aren't things going on, is being able to sit and go like, hey, this is as much like an apprenticeship opportunity as possible. So how do I invite my kids? My wife does this really well, especially just teaching our children the basic skills, like
Mm,
washing the laundry, cooking, cleaning. Like we invite our kids into those moments to kind of learn familial responsibility,
yeah.
but also because we get to be with them.
Yeah.
So those are a couple things that just like immediately come to mind.
Yeah.
And again, I'm a dad of 10-year-olds. I mean,
Right.
I coach basketball for 10 and 11-year-olds, but that's about where I'm at right now. We're
Yeah.
about to get into the season where my son's going into middle school, and I'm excited for that. Like, I think Kayla is too, but I'm like, I like doing life with like that age group,
Yeah.
especially. And so I'm kind of excited about the conversations we're gonna
Yeah.
have,
A little bit
and
more competitive.
yeah, well, and like the adolescent formation
Yeah.
that begins to occur. And so that's the other part too, is I think if I could encourage parents, it's like at some point you might experience some semblance of like the futility of like raising children.
Yeah.
I love the saying like the days are long but the years are short.
Mm,
Like
so true.
10 years went by quick. Like
Yeah.
I got gray hairs
Yeah.
and I was like, where'd they come
Yeah.
from?
I'm like pulling them out of my beard, and I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what? I might as well just leave them.
Yeah. And so just taking those really intentional moments. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so good. So, why in the world did you want to start a church?
Because that's what the Lord called me to do.
Mm.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
did that shape up? How did you see him like
Yeah.
leading you in that
So
direction?
I went to Dallas Seminary starting in 2013, and when we moved there, my wife and I had kind of predetermined we wanted to be a part of a small church,
Mm.
and maybe even a church plant. She was a PK. She came from a large church.
Mm.
I grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, a part of like a giga church. So, you got mega churches. This was a giga church.
Mm.
Might be considered a terra church now if we're
Right.
thinking about largeness. And so for both of us, we had experienced an interesting dynamic in the large churches. And we're
Mm.
like, hey, we've never been a part of like a smaller church. When we moved to Dallas, I had also been doing pulpit supply ministry. So
Mm.
I had actually been an itinerant preaching pastor at a rural church. And it was fun getting to know the stories of the people.
Mm.
So we're like, let's be a part of a church plant. So we were part of a church plant. They were a year old when we got there in Dallas. We were part of that church the entire 4 years we were there. They actually ordained me, and then when I left, they sent us out,
Mm.
for what we were about to do. And while I was in seminary, somebody asked me one day, like, "Hey, you have any interest in like helping to start a church?" And I was like, "I don't even know what that means." Like
Yeah.
the big church I was from did transplants; they didn't do church plants.
Right.
They would take like 500 people from a 10,000 person congregation and just move them and be like, "We're starting a new church." And I'm like, "So that's how it's done." Okay. And he's like, "No, that's actually not how a true church plant starts." And
Right.
so my seminary studies were very intense because it's like a doctorate at Dallas Seminary.
Yeah.
And at that moment, Kayla and I were like, I don't think we have the bandwidth
Yeah.
to do that coming out of seminary. I mean, it was intense.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of put it on the shelf. and I pursued an already existing ministry
Right.
opportunity. So then when we stepped down from the church here in town, that would have been in 2019, I got a call from a guy in Washington, D.C. He was the pastor of a close friend of mine who knew my story and just said, hey, our church is looking to actually plant another church in D.C. Would you be interested?
Yeah.
And I remember telling him, no, not in DC, but yes, I'd be very interested in church planting. So his just invitation to the question started it. And then he's like, if you're really interested, like here's a direction I'd give you to at least start the process. And a couple other interesting conversations came about from some people who didn't know that Kayla and I were praying about church planting. They just made comments that I was like, that's a really weird comment to make. Like,
pretty directed.
Yeah, like our chiropractor, Mark Nickens here in town, he was a part of Storied. He and his wife, Lauren, were part of Storied right off the bat. But I came in to do an adjustment with him and told him, like, yeah, I've stepped down from this ministry role. And he's like, well, if you want to plant a church, you can use our space here to kickstart it. And he just threw it out there. And I was like, what? We haven't talked about that at all.
Right.
So just little things like that. And one of the things that Kayla and I, so we kind of have like we have a mantra in following Jesus, and it has to do with success. Success is defined by obedience, not outcome. So if the Lord calls you to something, success has nothing to do with the outcome. And we see that all throughout Scripture. Has everything to do with obedience.
Yeah, the yes.
Yeah, and so we were like, the Lord's calling us to this, and we both agreed, and so we followed. And when we finally got to the place where we were actually church planting, I'd gone through, again, an interim pastoral role here in Colorado Springs. And both my ministry at the first church and the second ministry as an interim really marked me in specific ways. And so when we started Storied, I was like, we're going to start Storied differently. We're going to start Storied in a way that's very backwards than everything we're used to, which is why that unpaid component came into play.
Right.
And it was exciting. We were pretty open-handed with like, so what, Lord, what are you going to do with this? Like, I'm a leadership guy. I develop people and I deploy them. That's what I do. And that was exciting. And that's what we did. So that's really like, if you were to ask me, like, why'd you plant a church? I was like, because the Lord called us to.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do.
That's powerful. That's powerful. The obedience factor is huge for sure. Okay. So you do all this stuff. What's your take on balance? Like balancing family life, work life, it's kind of a trending topic of conversation. How do you manage it all?
Yeah. The first word that comes to mind is the word empowerment. So one, and I get this. So when I was in my master's degree, I worked a 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. corporate job. And then I would have night classes. And if you've ever worked in a system where you're unhappy, like you feel like you don't have choices, like everything's dictated to you, like your calendar's given to you, it's a very disempowering place to be.
Yeah.
And so now I'm in this place where I'm sitting here going like, no, like I am a person of power and agency. Like the Lord has granted me the authority to make decisions and to not be a victim. And so I get to choose things. And one of the things that when coaching came in, I get to choose what I want. I mean, there's a possibility this next year, if I wanted to, I could become $1 million coach. And I would choose that. I would choose how many clients I'm working with. I would choose how often I'm traveling. I would choose how often I'm marketing and being in spaces speaking. I can choose all that. And then I get to receive the consequences, whether good or bad of that. So when it came to balance, I was like, I'm going to take a fully authoritative place in this and go, what do I want my life to look like? And that shifts and changes. And again, in my world, nothing is guaranteed in the coaching space. A client can cancel a coaching agreement on me, and suddenly I've got a big windfall.
Yeah.
And so you navigate all that. But the one thing I was going to determine was I would not be dictated by the terms and conditions of the world.
What would you say helped spark that I'm going to take initiative here. I'm going to take full authority, and I'm going to choose.
Funny, this is shameless plug.
Yeah.
Working with a coach helped me navigate that. One of the things that I realized was, so 2.5 years ago, I had 6 months of suicidal ideation because so much was happening. I felt like things were happening to me, and I just could not adapt to them. The church plant, we had a transition in Storied where half of our church got called away, and I mean that.
Yeah,
The Lord
yeah,
called
yeah.
half of our church away.
You're
Never had that happen before, and so like navigating that dynamic, I was starting the coaching business, trying to cultivate clients, and I had no idea how to do that. I knew how to coach, I didn't know how to run a coaching business. So like all this stuff is happening. My wife was having some weird, funky illnesses. I've got 3 super young kiddos. Money was tight. And I remember in that moment feeling like life was happening to me and I was a victim of it. And when I came out of that season and I hired a coach, one of the very first things my coach picked up on was, Tim, how often do you actually ask for what you want? And of course, this was earlier last year where this coach really helped me like click in on this. And I was like, first of all, I'm a 38-year-old man at that point. I was like, a 38-year-old man, I ask for what I want. And he's like, really? Like, no, I want to know, how often do you actually ask for what you want, not for what you believe you can get? And I was like, well, when you put it that way, not very often. Matter of fact, I ask for what I know I can get because it's safe and all that. So when Kayla and I made the determination that, hey, I was going to go full time into coaching, continue to pastor, be dad, husband, all that stuff, one of the things that I doubled down on was, one, like, I'm going to be in charge of my schedule, and I am not going to fall victim to any shameful feelings or oughts tos or shoulds. So this week, the storms that took place across the country, I had several clients that had to cancel on me. I had colleagues, like I was supposed to be on another podcast, and he's out of Tennessee, and he's like, hey, I got to cancel on you. So I have these massive gaps. I would used to relate to those gaps by like having to do.
Right.
And now I relate to those gaps. It's like, what do I want to do with this? So like, and again, getting very like slowing down and getting very clear, and also being like, Lord, like, where are you at work that I can join you in? So that's a big thing too, is being very mindful. I love John 14. Jesus makes the declaration to all of his followers. He's like, hey, if you want to know why I'm successful, I pay attention to where the Father's at work and I join him in it. Do likewise.
Yeah.
So that's a part of it, that choice to like discern and to actually choose something that I think is more important. And being honest too, it's like, hey, like making money it's important because it does cost money to live.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to take a passive role in my own life. So the balance component is really getting super honest with like, hey, this is what I do. This is well, one, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to experience the fullness of God's goodness, and I'm going to make choices so that I can enjoy that with my family, with all the work I do. And then the other part is I'm a married man. Like my wife and I, we have these conversations. Like we're very open with the conversations. And this year will be an interesting dynamic. Starting in March, I will travel at least once a month where I'll be gone for 4 days. That's a new dynamic. There's a good possibility moving forward. I will be traveling at least once, maybe twice a month to do trainings within local churches.
Right.
And we have to have that conversation to recognize like how are we in the midst of all of this? Because I can choose at any and that's the big thing. I can choose at any moment to say, you know what? This is not serving like our family, or this isn't serving like my relationship with the Lord.
Yeah.
So I'm going to choose to hold off, and I'm not going to fear. I'm not going to do any of that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot that I think goes into it
for sure,
for balance.
Yeah.
And if you really want to get down to brass tacks, I think balance is correlative to like your trust in God's faithfulness, goodness, and providence.
Come on.
So like again, do you feel ushered and urgent
in
life?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I feel like any like success, any rest, any really anything in life is dependent upon our trust in Him. Like apart from me, you can do nothing. Abide. Like all of these things, and I'm experiencing that in a major way in my life now. Like trusting with new relationships, trusting with business ventures, trusting with new friendships and new stuff. Like it's a lot of new.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of trust that has to go into it. How do I figure out how to parent with this dynamic? How do I, all of those questions are constantly swirling around, and I find myself over and over again like, God, I trust you.
Mhm.
I trust that you're good. I trust that you know what I'm going through. You know what I need before I ask. Like, but at the same time, not like getting greasy grace with it and being like, oh, the Lord's got it, but
Yeah,
like coming,
balancing the responsibility component, and
yeah,
there's and just noting that's transformation. Like the Lord invites us into those spaces
yeah,
for our good.
yeah,
Like that's a beautiful space to be.
yeah,
I was thinking about this at the beginning of this year, the balance component. I was like, Lord, I do not want to strive after clients.
mm,
I don't want to go claw after them. I'm not needy. And so I started praying. I was like, one, I had a couple clients who fired me, and that
mm,
happens in the coaching world.
yeah,
And I was like, great. I don't think I want to work with those kind of people again.
yeah,
And there was a reason to it.
yeah,
And this isn't to shame them. It's just like, oh, I think that helped me understand who I really want to work with.
yeah,
I want to work with leaders. I
yeah,
want to work with people who want to lead others well.
yeah,
So one of my prayers going into this year was, Lord, grant me favor with leaders,
mm,
and will you bring them to me?
yeah,
That in our world, that means like it could be a referral, could be a conversation, but like, Lord, I don't want to strive. I want to thrive in life with you. And it's been fun to see how God has provided opportunities. Not all of them work out,
right,
but I've been able to have conversations with people who are very interested in working with me who are leaders.
mm-hmm,
So not only do I get to serve in the capacity that brings me so much joy, I also have found that I can trust the Lord in his timing. I can be intentional with my responsibilities.
mm,
When a client refers me out to several people, um, do I take the opportunity to reach out and to build those connections, or do I sit and say, well, they should reach out to me?
yeah,
Again, taking a passive role in your own
right,
life.
right, right,
So those are some things too. It's like, God, I want to pay attention to where you're at work, and I want to join you in it.
mm,
And I'm going to make big, bold requests of others.
yeah,
And if they don't work out, sweet.
yeah,
So being in that space where, again, you are in control as much as the Lord allows us to be,
yeah.
and you feel like you are taking an active part in your own life, has allowed me to feel like I'm in a good balance.
And in how you run your business, how you man the ship, right, in the family sector, in church, and all these things, how much is prayer a part of that?
Up until this year, it was a part of it.
Mm,
I wouldn't say it was one of the things that was driving me. And now, like going again, like I'd say probably about the November time, I started
mm,
going like, man, and my wife caught on to it too. She's like, hey, like, how is your time with the Lord? I'm like, well, one, I love being in the Word. Like, I have conversations with the Lord all the time when we do community together. The Lord's there, and I know
mm,
it. But like being able to actually sit and go, like, Father, I had a call with a president of a large company 2 weeks ago, and it's 15 minutes before the call, and I'm in my office. And so I sat down and I was like, Lord, like, grant me favor with him
mm,
if this be your will. And
mm,
if it's not your will, help me to serve the living daylights out of this guy in this
mm.
1 hour call with
Come
him,
on.
so that if he doesn't choose to work with me, he's been marked forever.
Mm,
And so now I'm in this place where, like, when I have the moments to be able to sit and say, like God, help me know if you're in this. Because if
mm.
you ain't in this,
I don't want it.
I don't want none of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care how much they want to pay me. I don't care what the perks are. If you're not in this, I don't want it.
Mm,
And that's been fun.
yeah,
So like I've got a meeting after our time together with a realtor here in town, in the same conversation. I'm looking forward to serving him because
right.
I like serving people. I like helping them.
Yeah.
And also it's like, Lord, if you're not in this, if this is not somebody who you're going to grant me favor with,
Mm,
that's totally okay. Help me to discern that well.
mm. So
Yeah.
good.
So now I'm in this place where it's like, hey, I got basketball on Saturday with my kiddos, and like being able to sit and pray like, Lord, I'm not, they're children. You never know what you're
Mm,
going to get in a sporting event. But also it's like, help me to, at the very least, like help them know I'm in your corner and I'm for you.
mm,
Those kind of moments now are happening all the time.
yeah.
That greater dependence upon the
Dude.
Lord and being able to stop. Because one of the things I appreciate about prayer that I haven't before and I do now is prayer is a self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
There's as much self-awareness as there is like engagement with the Lord.
Absolutely.
There's a reason why in Genesis God asks the question to Adam and Eve after they fall into sin, hey, where are you guys?
Mm,
And for some people they would be like, why does God not know where they
yeah,
are?
yeah,
Isn't he
yeah,
all knowing?
yeah.
He's like, the question wasn't for God
Right.
The question was
It's
for
for
them.
them.
Are you aware of
Yeah.
the situation you're in? And so every time we come to prayer now, and for me, every time I come to prayer, it's like, do I know where I'm at right now?
Mm.
Do I know emotionally what's happening? What are some beliefs deep down? Those are all things I want to have a massive amount of attunement to, because I
Yeah.
feel like I'm a whole human being as much as I can be, broken, but I feel like I'm like living a whole life in those moments.
So
So
good. So good. You're coaching leaders. Usually those leaders are entrepreneurs, CEOs,
yep,
CFOs, CMOs, the C-suite,
yep.
right? Something that I've been asking guests to kind of like share is just, what do you feel like these leaders or entrepreneurs should be asking God right now?
Hmm. Hmm. Can I shift the question?
Just absolutely.
I think because everybody's circumstances is different.
Yeah.
For my clients who are believers, one of the questions that I just offer up to them
Mm,
is, hey, if we were seated like this and Jesus was in my seat and it
mm,
wasn't Tim, and you were having the question with Jesus, or you were having the conversation with Jesus, what do you think Jesus would say to you about your transformation?
mm,
I'll ask my clients, well, I help my clients cast really big vision for their life. So much so that it's impossible, but it's exciting. And
mm,
then it surfaces all the reasons they can't do it. And one of the reasons I love my work is before we get into the doing and the strategy, we navigate the being. Like,
mm.
who do you need to become that accomplishes whatever this endeavor is? And for my clients who are believers, I'll sit and say, hey, what do you think Jesus would say to you in this moment? Like, who would Jesus say, like, hey, Uriah, if you would become like me in this way, that is going to be transformational for you.
Mm,
So that would be a question that I would pose to any believers who are leaders, is if Jesus beckoned you into a new version of yourself that was more like him, do you know what he would ask you to become more like? Like, what's the
mm,
quality or the characteristic of Christ that you probably have a semblance of,
right.
that would transform your leadership?
And that overflows into every aspect of life. How would he want you to be the best version of yourself in your marriage, in your workplace?
Well,
And
and again, if I can just tinker it a little bit,
yeah,
best version of him
right,
in you.
right.
And the only reason I say that is because I know in our society that the world is one. This sounds terrible, but it's true. Paul writes it in Ephesians. You got three enemies. You got your flesh.
Mm,
You have the world. And by the world, meaning like just the ways of a broken world. It does not err in the direction of the kingdom of God and light. It errs in the direction of the kingdom of darkness.
mm,
And then you have Satan who deceives you. And so having Christ as the image of transformational perfection, you can sit and go like, hey, are you the best version of you?
mm.
Absolutely. Are you the best version of Christ right now?
Right.
Shut up.
Yeah, yeah.
How dare you bring Jesus into this? And for my clients who are believers, when I bring that up, it's funny because like they'll have the hardest time going like, who do I become? Who do I become? Who do I become? Who do I want to become? And then I bring Jesus into it, and I'm like, man, if I could be kind like Jesus, and notice I said
Mm,
kind, not nice. If I
mm,
could be kind like Jesus, I'd lead so well.
mm,
You know, kindness looks so many different ways. Or if I could be more assertive like Christ,
mm,
like that's what I want all of my clients or all leaders who are believers. If you became more like Jesus, just
mm.
intentionally, it'll transform your life. Doesn't mean it's going to be easier,
Right,
but it is definitely going to be satisfying. And
right.
you likely will get more accomplished.
Well, and a lot more purpose, I feel, too, in
Yeah.
everything that you do. And I feel like that's what a lot of people are coming to realize. Like, how am I living my life? Is it on purpose, or am I just floating through life? Am I
Yeah.
just
Are
like
you a passive being?
letting things happen to me?
Yeah.
Becoming a victim, all of these different things.
And I don't want to throw Christianity under the bus. However,
Mm,
Christianity does a great job of the shoulds and the oughts and the would'ves and the
mm,
could'ves. And it's like at some point, you got to take ownership,
mm,
radical ownership of your life, or else you'll go through life this side of eternity going, well, resurrection life will be bliss and it'll make up for all of this. And I'm like, really?
Mm-mm.
You want to go the next 40 years of your life just sitting here going like, I've punched my ticket and I'll experience the resurrection life and new heaven and new earth and all. Like, really? That's what you think God has in store for you right now?
Mm-mm.
Like, there's, I love N.T. Wright. He writes about like we have a hope in life after. Oh, what is it? Hope in I forgot how he said it, but it's a beautiful way. But anyways, he talks about, and I would agree with this. Like, we don't hope in heaven; we hope in resurrection life, a new life.
Mm.
And one of the things I appreciate about that is because we are going to be resurrected to physical glorified bodies, this side of eternity, we can actually have moments and glimpses of what that eternal life is going to look like because we are in physical bodies right now.
Mm.
So you think about the grandiose moments of life where you're like, this is amazing.
Mm.
Gives you a semblance of like what resurrection
Mm.
life will be like.
Yeah.
And because we are resurrected physically,
Yeah.
that means that our time here is physically important and
Mm-hmm.
it can be beautiful. It can be hard and challenging and all that stuff. But being passive and a victim as a believer, that is not what the Lord has
No.
for you.
No. And
Yeah.
I talk about it all the time, but like our time is short. Like you touched on it a little bit earlier, like 10 years, just boom,
I
gone.
turned 40 this year and I'm
Right.
like, whoa, that was quick.
Like we don't have much time. There is a sense of urgency in our life.
Hmm.
And what are we doing with the time that we've been given? How are we stewarding it? Well, like and it's not passive. It
Mm-mm.
is very much a invitation into what he is already doing.
Nope.
And I also talk about it, John talks about I saw a new heaven and a new earth like coming down,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I joke around, but kind of not. Like we have the opportunity to live the kingdom now,
Mm.
in eternity now, and lay the golden rebar, if you will, in the foundation and in what's going on. Like we can do that now.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of us have either considered believing or have believed the lie of, well, I'm just waiting on him to come back.
Yeah,
You
and it's
know?
and that's the interesting thing. Like when in the Gospel of John, when Jesus consistently offers eternal life, what's interesting is that's kind of multi-semantic.
Mm,
One, he is actually offering you life eternal,
mm,
meaning life that will be everlasting. He's also offering a quality of life now. That
mm,
eternal life is something to be experienced now and in full later.
mm,
And I think and I would have been guilty of this too. It's like, no, that's a pipe dream, or that I don't know what that means. No, like if you will take the invitation to become like Jesus, to pursue the kingdom of God in all ways,
yeah.
like you get to experience the quality of that eternal life. And part of that is like that Old Testament concept of shalom.
Mm,
Like you just have a
true peace.
peace.
Yeah.
Things are right.
Mm,
And that's again like the management question, like how do you balance that? Like I want to experience that kind of restored rightness and peace with the Lord,
mm,
not simply in relationship with him. I trust that's all good in Jesus, but also the actual pragmatics of what that looks like.
mm,
That's a really important
mm,
part of the whole like relationship with God through Jesus thing.
mm. Dude, thank you so much
Yeah,
for
that's good.
bringing your wisdom and just diving into it all. If somebody's interested in like working with you
Mm-hmm.
with coaching and stuff like that, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things. So this is the beauty of working with a coaching firm
Mm,
is I tell people like I may not be able to work with you just because I can only work with so many clients at a time, but we have a firm full of coaches who want people to experience life transformationally. So
mm,
Novus Global, right now we have 75 coaches across the country and in Canada, and all of my colleagues, like I would trust to refer to anybody. So
mm,
one, if you're just interested in learning about it, we call it meta performance.
mm,
Meta is a word that means beyond or after. So like what's beyond high performance where you're burning yourself out to be the best and have the most?
mm,
We would say the transformational performance. So if anybody's interested in just learning about it, go to novus.global. You can learn about us. We've got a podcast up there. All of our coaches are there. If anybody is interested in wanting to work with me, one of the things that I love giving is a full hour of my time to help them cast vision for their life, like we talked about earlier, that they actually want. And we have a saying in Novus Global, and I would say it in a heartbeat too. Good coaches help you get things done. Great coaches help you expand on what you think is possible. We want to help you expand a vision that is so clear and compelling that it incites passion within you, the willingness to suffer the reinvention of who you are. And that's following Jesus. But for anybody listening, if you're like, man, I feel like I'm underestimating what I'm capable of, or there's something more, or maybe I've lost vision and I need help getting that back. I offer to anybody an hour where we just focus right on your vision, and I'll bring everything I have to the table to say, is that all you got? What else is there? And to help navigate all the stuff that comes up as well. So if anybody is interested, and maybe I can provide
information. We'll link it below.
Yeah, but you can also reach out to me, Tim Hawkins at novus.global, my email, and just hit me up like Tim, I heard you on the podcast, and I'd love to get some time with you. I find if a person casts a vision that's going to be transformational and it's what they really want and they live into it and it's noble. Adolf Hitler had a vision too, but I wouldn't coach him. I wouldn't coach him ever. But if people would live into a noble vision for their lives, that transforms families, workplaces, and so I want to help people do that, even if they don't choose to want to work with me.
Yeah.
That's worth it.
Dude, that is awesome. Thank you so much, Tim.
Yeah, brother.
Thank you for the time. And reach out to him if that's something that connects with you and you're like, man, I just need some vision for my life. Definitely reach out to this guy.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.